So I'm really, really glad I got this question because I get this question a lot from people. And I did do a lot of encaustic painting, as you may have seen in my portfolio as it went around. In the slides, there was a series of paintings I did. I didn't say encaustic, I said beeswax, and I was doing a lot of mixed media. But encaustic, what is encaustic? Does anyone know? Wax. Okay, so it's a type of painting with hot wax. So you heat the wax, you mix pigments in. You can buy, well, anyway, I won't go into that too much. Let's just, how are we going to imitate this on some level with acrylics? So I'm going to show you, this is an actual encaustic painting that I did about 13 years ago. And I really wish, there was another series that I did of these dresses, paintings of dresses, that's much closer to what my current experiment. This is my current experiment with acrylics. Ooh. And I'll tell you how I got this, wow, and what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do. Now there are different ways to paint with encaustic. One is where you use a brush, which I never really did a lot of. I tended to heat the surface and wanted to make a smooth layer. And so some of you may have seen people do layer upon layer, and they may embed things in like text or painting and then do another layer. So basically wax has a sort of translucent look to it and a satiny sheen. So this isn't quite a match for match of the technique, but I'm just trying to show you the effect of a true encaustic and then an acrylic version of encaustic. So what I did, and I did a few different experiments, and I try to make notes of what I'm doing. This isn't, I'm not measuring with a tablespoon, it's an approximate thing, sort of like when we mix those up there. It's like, oh, it looks like 25% or it looks like 50%. But this is, I used the pouring medium, about 90% pouring medium and 10% of a fluid medium called ultra matte medium, to give the effect of the translucent or slightly opaque kind of effect. So I just mixed them together. Now let's talk about pouring medium. We haven't yet. Pouring medium is a leveling medium. So this is what it looks like clear on top of a texture. I did a texture underneath and some paint with inks and all that. So I let that dry, and then I did pouring medium on top, and I do have a video on YouTube showing how I do this. So you can check out my channel for that.
You let the paint dry first and then you pour it?
Yes, yeah. So I'm using it similar to resin, which is a very toxic way to get a clear coat, and since I mentioned I do non-toxic, I was really happy to figure out a way to get that with a water-based non-toxic material. So by adding in the ultra matte medium, you get this opacity. You see the difference there? So that's kind of the effect I'm looking for. Now if I were going, this one in particular, this was oil paint with some encaustic on top. It's not 100% encaustic painting, which I never did. I always used beeswax more on top. But if you wanted more of this, there's a little bit, if you can see the brush strokes on there, if you wanted that, then instead of adding, say, the pouring medium and the ultra matte medium, which are very fluid, my mixture here, you can see it's like this, right? If you wanted something more pasty, what do you think you could add? Let's just brainstorm here, because this is how artists develop their recipes. I'm not a big fan of formulas, and that is because I find like the best chefs don't go to James Beard's cookbook or Julia Child's cookbook and copy everything. They start there, but then they develop their own recipes, and I'm very interested in encouraging people to develop their own paint recipes that are unique to you and will be able to express something that the person next to you won't, because you found a new way with it. So let's just think, based on some of the gels and mediums or anything that we know, like just as a group, what would, if we wanted a more thick textural version of a satiny translucent, what are some things you might think about trying that you've seen me use today? Or heavy gel. Heavy gel, okay. Would you use a gloss or a matte heavy gel?
Probably use a matte.
A matte heavy gel. And what would you mix anything with it or use it straight?
Well, you're using that pouring medium.
Okay, so you're talking about mixing the two together. Yes, definitely. You could try that. Matte heavy gel and pouring medium. What are some other ideas? I heard someone else.
Well, I was saying modeling paste, that's when I was thinking of mixing it with pouring, but I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know. No, we're just thinking outside the box
But
here.
you
So
could do a soft
modeling
gel.
paste and pouring medium. I don't see why not. Or some kind of like a gloss softer gel. Because it's not up anymore. But the thing we did earlier, remember I brushed it on. I said this is kind of like waxy, right?
It's still pretty wet.
Okay. Yeah. So okay, you see this area of gloss gel? If we added, say, the matte gel into the gloss gel, maybe we could achieve that. It won't have quite the same brushstroke retention as an actual true wax would, but what did we just learn about that would give a brushstroke retention? Liquid thick. So maybe, I haven't tried it, but it's just a possibility. These are just some options. So I think there are a lot of different ways to